You're listening to What She Said with me, Candace Sampson, and this is your weekly reminder to take up big space in life, laugh loudly, absorb new knowledge, and continue to grow and expand. What She Said is your space for the big conversations that matter and the little joys that make life sweeter. This is where empowerment meets self-care and mansplaining has no seat at the table. So grab a coffee, get comfy, and let's jump into it because life's too short not to embrace the good stuff while we tackle the tough stuff.
Climate change is real. Scientists have proven that it's happening. And at the end of the world, and I think we've seen so many movies depicting this, at the end of the world, the fire is not going to say, well, who did you vote for in the last election? It's going to impact all of us.
That's Nam Kiwanuka, host of The Thread on TVO, now in its 4th season. The show takes viewers beyond the headlines and into living rooms, classrooms, and communities across Ontario to hear what's really on people's minds. This season, Nam explores some of the most pressing issues facing the province: healthcare, extreme weather, dating in a digital world, and deep fakes. And while the stories are local, the themes are universal. No matter where you live in this country, these conversations will hit home. Let's hear what she said. Nam, it's so good to have you back on What She Said.
Thank you so much for having me back. I'm excited.
I love The Thread, and I want to start with my big question. What is on Ontario's mind right now? What are you hearing from people across the province?
Well, first of all, I'm glad that you like the show. I think it's a really important show because it centers the lived experiences of Ontarians and something that is top of mind for a lot of people. And it was also top of mind through polling in the last provincial election is healthcare. And we did cover healthcare in this season, but we decided to kind of move away from the GTA and focus on what's happening in rural and northern parts of the province.
So The Thread is now in its 4th season. Is that what makes this one feel different than past seasons? Is that you're outside of Toronto? Is there something else that's making it feel maybe perhaps a little different?
Well, through the first season, we tried to move outside of Toronto because I think when it comes to journalism itself, we've spoken about this before, there is a lack of trust, and that's been growing over a very long time. And sometimes I think when you live in major cities like Toronto or Vancouver or wherever, the problems in those cities might seem to be the most pressing. And maybe those problems might actually get the most airtime when it comes to what's covered on the news. But if you move outside even an hour, 2 hours, the priorities of those communities might be similar, but they might be very different. When we talk about healthcare is a big, I think it shows a huge difference. If you live in Toronto, we know that there is a lack of family doctors. We know that if you have a family doctor, you're super, super lucky. If you live in Toronto, if you don't have a family doctor, and we've been hearing this on the news, if you need to see somebody, you might be able to go to a walk-in clinic. If you can't get to a walk-in clinic, you might go to the nearest ER. And if you go to one ER, and if that ER is super busy, you might have another ER that's accessible to you. If you move to the rural and northern parts of the province, that situation changes. They also are facing a lack of family doctors, but in those parts of the province, there's a lack of walk-in clinics, ERs, or it's not news actually now. It used to be news, but ERs are being closed practically every week. And if you can't get access to an ER, and if you can't get help and you need immediate care, situations can become life-threatening.
Yeah, this is going to be a big concern, I think, for people in Ontario over the next many years. Personally, hoping for a bit of a brain gain here as doctors flee America. So it'd be interesting to see if you follow up with that in the next season, maybe to see if we did actually gain some family doctors and some specialists in our healthcare community as they start to depart the U.S. One of the other things you focused on was extreme weather, which I think is Personally, I've been victimized by the extreme weather where I live with that rest show that came through a couple of years ago. But we're definitely going to keep getting more of it. So,
Mm.
what prompted you to focus on this topic in particular?
First of all, I'm sorry that you experienced that because it is becoming super common to know someone if it's not yourself going through it, where maybe there's flooding, extreme heat, fires out west. We know it's not uncommon for people to have like a go bag, which is essentially a bag they keep in case of fires, and they grab it. It's got emergency essentials. We decided to cover extreme weather because it's something that's been in the news a lot. And the thing that makes me so annoyed, I don't know if I can say this as a journalist, but climate change is not a left or a right thing. Climate change is real. Scientists have proven that it's happening. And at the end of the world, and I think we've seen so many movies depicting this, at the end of the world, the fire is not going to say, well, who did you vote for in the last election? It's going to impact all of us. And extreme weather is happening in many different ways. If you live in Toronto, extreme heat, flooding, I have kids who go to elementary. I have a child in elementary school now, but both of my kids were in elementary school. My son is now in high school. They were in portables, and during the summer, the heat like the temperature where we're in offices and we're sweating. But if you go to a school, of my kids' school, they have a huge field, no trees. And if you're in a portable, it just feels like you're in a little metal tin just heating up throughout the day. We have snow days. Well, we used to have snow days. Now they just go online. But like in the winter, when it's extreme cold, we acknowledge that it's extremely cold and kids shouldn't be outside. So they have to be inside. But in the summer, we're not doing that. So kids are still expected to go to schools. And most times, the only place that has like air conditioning is the office, right? But the kids in the rest of the classrooms are sweating, and we don't acknowledge that. Even in Toronto, there's certain laws where landlords prohibit people from installing fans in their unit. So people are sitting just heating up. And if you're a senior and, you can have all these other health issues that can be impacted because of the extreme heat. We, we actually spoke to a woman in Barrie, Ontario. And what people don't realize is that southwestern Ontario is a tornado alley. So we went to speak to her, and she survived a tornado. She actually saw, like, when everything finished, the roof over the house that she was in was gone, completely gone. This is happening in Ontario. And I think we need to talk about what's going on, what the solutions are, and how it's impacting people. Because if you don't believe in climate change, guess who does? Insurance companies do.
I was just going to say that it's not going to be politicians who are going to push for major changes. It's going to be the insurance companies, because they're going to be bankrupt and they will not be able to make a living or continue to function with all of these payouts that our people are just not going to be able to get insurance as well. I mean, some of the premiums are going to be so outrageous. So we're seeing that in Florida.
Yeah, we saw this in Florida, and also we saw that in LA, those incredible images coming out from Los Angeles, and how while the fire was happening, people were being removed from their insurance policies, right? So this is something that I think we really need to talk about, because if you don't believe in it, and it's going to impact people's bottom lines, and it's going to impact where people can actually live. We have a housing crisis. So if you can't live in certain parts of the province, that's also going to make things worse, right? We have solutions. I think we need to focus on those solutions instead of debating something that has already been proven to be true.
Absolutely. I mean, I live in Ottawa. Tornadoes were not a thing here until within the last maybe 10 years or so. We get more tornadoes in Ottawa now. Never had them prior. And
you can't control a tornado, right?
No, and we have wildfire season now. Like, that's not a thing. Like, we should never normalize that. That wildfire season shouldn't be a season. So we really do have to address it. I agree. I want to talk about your third, though, episode, which I have some experiencing as well after divorces is dating disasters. I'm laughing, not laughing, because I have seen some of the horrific messages people receive on dating apps and some of the expectations. But there's also dangers. I mean, just the other day, I had read that there's a guy on a dating website who just got out of prison, and people are calling him out, saying like, this guy is out, and he was in jail for assaulting a woman.
Honestly, like I've been married for over 15 years. And even before when I was single, I was a terrible dater. I was just super awkward, shy, and I just never knew how to date. I cannot, and I cannot believe, like, just to think, I talk to my girlfriends about this all of the time. The nightmare stories of trying to connect with somebody. And when you're using these dating apps, you can curate your life. Like on social media, we talk about social media all the time where you can curate the highlights of your life. Dating apps are next level. And, dating apps were seen before as the solution to helping us meet people online and maybe connect with the one. But those dating websites have realized that, hey, we can't make money if people actually connect. If people actually meet one,
Yeah.
we want you on these
Yeah.
apps, right? So they've created, right?
This
So
is
they've,
so
like,
true.
dating apps used to be free. Now sometimes you have to pay to join. And then even if you are on a free dating app, they have different levels where if you want to have this access, then you have to pay this. And then, so the gaming apps have become a little bit gamified, right? And I feel we spoke to some people who were just sharing their dating scenarios, nightmare scenarios. And we live in an online world, right? Third spaces have disappeared. Before maybe you could go to the local coffee shop, hang out, the diner, and you can meet somebody, or bowling alley, or remember roller skating rinks? They were everywhere, right? But now all those places have disappeared,
Yeah.
and there's a lack of places for people to meet. We actually spoke to a dating coach who has been organizing these speed dating events. And she's saying that, and she's been in the dating industry for 20, 25 years. And she's seen the desire for people to have these in-person events. People don't want to be on the apps anymore. They want to meet. Because also, like, when you meet somebody, physical, like the body language, you can pick up cues on. You might not be able to if you meet them online. And so we're seeing this kind of like reversal of people not wanting to just, be online, but they want to meet people in real life. And we know there's a loneliness epidemic. There's all of these things that are been impacted by all the disappearance of all these spaces that we used to congregate as a community. And now adding dating and people being sneaky or trying to be duplicitous. Because I think in dating, we've all had bad dates, right? We've all met liars or whatever. But I think dating online just adds like a different level of anxiety. And it also puts people in positions where maybe they can be scammed. But it's really, really hard for people to meet right now. And it seems the one thing that I learned from this episode is that people are kind of done with the apps and just want to go back to meeting people in real life, which I think is also good. I think we need to have more in-person opportunities to connect. And maybe if people are listening, that's a place for people, entrepreneurs, to just maybe create these spaces where we can meet in real life.
I agree. I mean, those dating apps too are awful. I mean, they're so superficial, and you're swiping through and it's like choosing a person off of a menu. It's
Yeah, it's
just
weird.
it's
What's wrong?
just a terrible feeling, right? Like, oh, I like this but don't like that, or I want, and it's just, you never get to the core of the person through them. So you could be swiping on some really great people and of course pausing on some really terrible people, which on the other side of that, we're seeing this rise in these Facebook pages of, are we dating the same person? Which are directly, I think, connected to the dating sites, because people are just out there dating as many people as possible. So it's crazy.
Mhm. Well, one in a previous season on the thread, we did scams, and we spoke to this young woman who was sharing her life online on Facebook, and she didn't realize that this guy was kind of like following her on social. He would be at the places she was. He started to dress in a way that he kind of figured out what her style was and what she liked. So he created himself to be an image of who he thought. So she became a target, right? And he just became this person for her. She meets him. She falls in love. She's like, oh my gosh, this person's like tailor made for me. And then it was just a scam, right? And he broke her heart and he also stole from her. So it's like, it's hard to put yourself out there with the best intentions when there's so many bad actors out there. And then maybe when you do meet that one, you're just kind of like, can it really be true? Because I also know a lot of friends who've met their partners online. So there are happy endings, but yeah, apps are just, I think people are just kind of done with them.
Yeah, I don't blame them at all.
Hi, it's Ashley and Jess with Wellness Reality Check. We are two health practitioners, moms, and best friends trying to navigate the world of holistic health in a balanced, productive way that brings health to our lives instead of dogmatic extremes. We'll be breaking down health trends, interviewing your favorite health influencers, and always keeping it real. We hope this podcast brings listeners back down to earth, providing a dose of reality in the often idealized world of health and wellness.
Wellness Reality Check. Follow the show now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or at wellnessrealitycheck.com.
Are your poor communication skills holding you back from being the leader you know you can be? The Master Communicator is a podcast that can help you improve your communication skills in just a few minutes a week. I'm David Tyler, a broadcaster and communication coach, and each week I deliver bite-sized masterclasses for busy leaders like you. Each episode is packed with practical techniques and strategies to help you navigate challenging conversations, delivering impactful messages, and inspire your team. Whether you're looking to enhance your executive presence, build a culture of trust, or simply lead with more confidence, the Master Communicator is your go-to resource. Subscribe now and start your journey to becoming the leader you were meant to be. Transform your communication skills, one episode at a time.
So what upcoming topics do you have that you're excited about or maybe even potentially a little bit nervous to share with people?
We did an episode on guns, which was really eye-opening for me, and one on deepfakes. And I think the deepfakes episode is one that's going to stay with me for a very long time. We spoke to a group of young girls from Toronto, and a friend, actually, he was a trusted friend to some of them, took pictures from them that were shared online. And he used an AI app to manipulate the picture. So the girls were they were essentially naked. And these are young girls, 14, 15 years old. And these images started to circulate around the different schools. And when it happened, the girls were they were devastated because it's a picture they know they didn't take.
Right.
But it's a picture of them. Like it was original. One of the pictures was like a very innocent picture at a picnic. But by using this app, he was able to make it into this whole other, situation that wasn't real. But if you looked at the picture, it looked real. And when it happened, the girls spoke to their parents, and it seems as if their parents were the people who were really kind of pushing for them to be heard because, well, I shouldn't just say just their parents. Some of the schools, like one of the schools handled it really well, according to the girls. Another school, not so well. The girls were actually asked to come into the principal's office as if they had done something wrong. So they had to stay in the principal's office and they were separated from the rest of their classmates. And then the young boy who allegedly did this, he's a minor. And with the criminal code, the way that it's structured right now, the Canadian criminal code, it has specific rules to deal with people who are sharing child abuse materials. but the word deep fake is not part of it. And so when it comes to like when the girls went to the police essentially told them that there's nothing we can do because the law doesn't give us very much a leeway to actually charge this young person. And the girls were devastated because this impacted them in many different ways. They were betrayed. There's a potential for these images to live online forever, to follow them for the rest of their lives. And the fact that when they went to the police were kind of like, well, it's not really real, so why are you upset? And it was just kind of devastating to see that this is something that young people are experiencing because it's happening more and more. And most of the time this happens, it's directed to young girls or young women. And we also spoke to an activist by the name of Noelle Martin from Australia. And she had her pictures manipulated and posted online. And she chose to speak out because the way that she was portrayed online was just so terrible. But she said, I'm not going to keep quiet. I'm going to fight back. And again, there was nothing really much for her to do. She was told that she would have to contact the different sites that had her pictures online because her pictures ended up online. And she would have to contact them and ask them to remove them. And one of the silver linings of that story is that she chose to pursue law, and her activism has created conversations for politicians to act to protect other young people from going through that. But I think it's really important for parents to be aware of this, and also for young people to be aware that this is a devastating thing, that even if you're just playing around with this AI tool, you're committing a crime. Like this is not, it's not funny, right? It's not funny to do that to somebody. And I'm so proud of those young girls for speaking up and not taking whatever answer was given to them by the police. They were like, no, we are going to keep talking about this until we see some form of justice because what happened to us was wrong. And it's really nice to see young girls empowered to push back, but they shouldn't have to do that. I think tech companies also bear a great deal of responsibility in allowing these pictures to be online. And also, when people talk about AI, it's so cool, it's amazing. We have to think about the other parts of it that are not so amazing, that can actually ruin people's lives and endanger young people because mentally it's a horrible thing to happen to you.
I feel like I'm having this conversation over and over and over again in many spaces about how we are, as a society, we're just not keeping up quickly enough with the technology in the laws and in the education that our society needs. We are woefully behind, and I don't know if we can catch up at this point. It's so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, exactly what you just said. We spoke to a lawyer who works in this space, and that's exactly what he said. That we can't keep up, the law can't keep up with the technology. And it's a scary place to be in where someone can just decide, I'm just going to do this and put your head on this picture and put it online. And it can ruin people's lives, and it has ruined people's lives. And it's terrible to think that younger people might think that this is funny or hilarious, but it's not. And we have to talk about the negative parts of it and educate everybody, really, not just young people, but we need to educate everybody because in the show, we spoke about 2 cases of older men who were using AI images for, child porn abuse material. So this stuff is everywhere, and the law needs to catch up like yesterday.
Yeah, I agree. So you've hosted 4 seasons now, Nam.
Mm-hmm.
What have you learned about Ontario residents that continues to surprise you?
Oh, that's a great question. The thing that I've learned, and every time we speak to anybody, is that there are so many people in this province who care so deeply about the person sitting next to them, and people who are working really, really hard to create a better life for their neighbors, and how much people, it's like people want to be understood. And sometimes someone across from you might say something that you disagree with. But I think if you just have an opportunity to meet face to face, have a conversation, that we have more in common than not. And the other thing that I've learned is that throughout our trips throughout the province, our province is really beautiful. There's so many beautiful places to go. And as you know, with elbows up, as we think about what we're going to do over the summer break, I think it's a great opportunity for people to explore the province and just get to know what life is like for people outside of where they live, because an issue might be really important to you in Toronto, but it might look different for somebody who lives outside of Toronto. And specifically, I'm thinking of highways, because I don't drive. Well, I mean, sometimes, but I usually take transit. And every time I hear conversations about we need a new highway, I'm like, oh my God, no, we don't. And then I go outside of Toronto and I speak to somebody. They're like, actually, this is why we need a new highway. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, now I'm pro highway, but it's an opportunity for me to understand the issue from a different point of view.
Yeah, Ontario is such a big province. I always love telling people that it takes 24 hours to drive across Ontario.
Exactly.
It is. You can go to Florida in the same amount of time.
Yeah. Well, it does take an hour to get through Toronto. Toronto.
That's true. I think that's one of my favorite jokes. It's 2 hours to get to Toronto from Toronto. It's always crazy in Toronto for sure. But it is such a big, huge province and so different as you move across it or up and down in it. So I love that you do this show, Nam. Where can people catch the threads?
Thanks so much for giving us the opportunity to talk about this. I really appreciate it, Candace. It's we're on YouTube at The Thread with Nam, and we're also on Instagram, TVO The Thread. People can follow us on those platforms, and they can also catch up on the past seasons on YouTube and also on TVO website.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for joining me today, Nam.
Thanks so much for having me, Candace. You do great work, and I always appreciate how you elevate women's voices. Really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to share it with someone who'd love it too. And don't forget to hit subscribe to What She Said with me, Candace Sampson, on your favorite podcast app. It's the easiest way to stay connected. Want more? Sign up for my newsletter at whatshesaidtalk.com to get all the latest updates, and let's keep the conversation going on social. You can find What She Said on Facebook and Instagram, and you'll find me on Threads, TikTok, and Blue Sky at Candace Said. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week.
What happens when we play outside? We become healthier, both mentally and physically. We become more creative and more focused. We connect with nature, each other, and ourselves. Let's Take This Outside, a new podcast hosted by me, Marianne Iveson, an aspiring outdoor athlete and nature lover. I speak to athletes, outdoor professionals, and scientists about their connection to nature, how it affects their performance, and everyday life. Let's Take This Outside, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, and at letstakethisoutside.ca.
Hey listeners, I'm Christy.
And I'm Melissa, and this is Buried Motives, where we dig deep into the details of some of the most gruesome
dirtbag murderers. She said she enjoyed hurting things that can't fight back.
And that is a disturbing view into the mind of a murderer and such a dirtbag.
Yeah, that's not even strong enough words. This is totally a recipe for disaster. And not to justify whatever is going to happen, but you can totally understand and see how this would be in the works.
If you were only to look at what she did later on and not know any of that history, she would appear like off the wall crazy.
Oh, 100%. Because we're not even close to getting to the end yet. But you can just see this pattern and all this kind of stuff developing in her, which is what we're here for. We're digging deep.
Join us each Thursday as we unearth the dirtbags that live among us
and the motives buried there. Hope you join us as we exhume the truth.
Another Sound Off Media Company podcast.